Hey there, my name is Pravus, and welcome to IXION, the survival city builder that can be best described as Frostpunk in space. Now, I released a video on this game a few days ago when it entered into full release, and I've heard you guys loud and clear. You want to see a series for this game? Alright, I am more than happy to oblige. I also saw some commentary of people saying that this game is a bit too difficult for them, and I will admit, this game does have quite a few challenges to it. It's easy to make some mistakes and really struggle to pay for those a little bit later. But I do think it's not an unfair difficulty. I think it's just something you're going to make those mistakes and learn from, and if you fail, alright, no problem. Try again, right? But you know what? That's why I'm here. I've had a little bit more exposure to this game. I hopefully have a decent strategy that I can show off for you guys and really bring out the story elements to the best of their ability. So, we're going to jump into a new game. Now, I do want to say the first 1 or 2 videos of this series are going to have kind of a lot of prologue focus to them. I don't want to get too bogged down with cutscenes that don't really add much to the story or with a whole load of backstory, just narratives that also don't really seem to matter all that much. So I'm going to skip through some of that, not most of the story, but at least some of that stuff, and show you the highlights so we can make some tangible progress in every video. I think that's very important. Sound good? Those are my ground rules. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Now, case in point, this opening cutscene right here, I mean, it's beautiful, it really looks cool, but it's just a launch sequence for a ship going up to the Tiqqun station. So you're not missing much by losing out on this right here, all right? I promise. I'm not going to skip anything that seems relevant to the story, all right? And here we go with the actual game. Our ship is arriving. We are the new administrator of the Tiqqun station, and their fate is in our hands. Hi, Eden. This is the AI that will be talking to me, probably more often than I would like. This guy right over here, Giovanni, he's our cryonics expert. All right, for a company called DOLOS, that is the megacorp that we work for, and there are actually quite a few members of their council who are going to be giving us some advice and possibly adding some backstory, but to be honest, I don't think enough that we need to worry about sitting here for their entire dialogue. Okay, with him out of the way, first thing we're going to do is set up a whole bunch of these roads. You go down to this build menu and there's the roads. They are free to place and free to destroy, but you need to have these things actually connecting to buildings in order to gather up any of their resources, hence why I'm placing some of these down. They're very inefficient, so don't feel married to these. We will probably be getting rid of most of them a little bit later. Now, a couple things we're going to need right up front are going to include, say, some stockpiles and stuff. We need to get one of those. Also, we need to get ourselves a workshop, ideally in a somewhat central-ish location so that our robots will be able to get around and build necessary structures all over the place. This workshop basically is going to spawn a little constructo bot like this guy right over here. He's going to go over here, he's going to build out some roads, he's going to construct our stuff. We need to have this in every sector. Now, a stockpile over here is exactly what you think it is. It's a place where you store resources. Unfortunately, only one at a time. In this case, I'm going to say we want to store up some alloys, all right? So now we can store up to 100 units of alloy right over here. And every stockpile is going to have a handful of little harvester robots that are going to be moving around and gathering the resources for you. So for example, if I go over here and just click on these scrap piles over here, like so, it's going to launch out all these little dozers, like so, pick up the resources, and drop them off. Here's another character over here, Emma Klein. This is our communications and data specialist. She's got some new stuff she wants me to do, mainly set up a dining hall. That's no problem. We're going to do that at some point over here as well. And here's the first of many, many events we're going to get in the game, which are going to help give you some peek into the social structure around the Tiqqun station, and possibly resolve some conflicts or make some promises to some very scared and upset people. The Tiqqun crew members are currently unable to access their food supplies. Guarantee that we will give them access to food with a mess hall. Sure, no problem. That's something I need to do anyway. What you do is you go to the build menu down over here under food, and there it is, a mess hall. Now again, we want to be somewhat space efficient over here, so I'm not looking to go crazy and place everything down right now. First, I want to gather up some basic resources and so on. You know, and how we place it something like this, I think this will be fine for us. Now, I also built up another stockpile, which we are using to gather up all of the spare food in the area, and we have some additional stockpiles for some more alloys, which is handy because it's going to let me continue clearing some stuff out of here and building out some space. Don't forget, by the way, you can set the game to a very fast time speed over here, so it's going to make things go a lot faster. Also, you may be wondering down here in the bottom right, what are cycles? Cycles represent a full revolution of the Tiqqun station. How that exactly translates into, let's say, a revolution of the Earth, I have no idea, but there you go. So this is how we're going to be measuring all of our time. So the mess hall is about to be built up, Dunskies. Now we just have to actually, feed people and move on to the next stage of the tutorial. This next guy over here is Henri Bargeville. He is a philosopher and an ambassador of the DOLOS Corporation. He wants us to go and interact with a ship that is supposed to be sending us some resources, the Urshanabi over here. Some partner corporation or something that wants to send things. I don't know, something along those lines. So the best thing to do is to go over here to the docking bay, and we are going to construct our first cargo ship. These are absolutely crucial. If you want to transport resources around in the solar system over here, you need to make sure you have at least one cargo ship. Ideally, a whole fleet of them later, though. Hey, look, there's stuff going on here around the moon and Mars and such. Ooh, also Saturn. We should probably get a science ship at some point and go and explore these. Also, I wouldn't mind launching a probe. We haven't got any probes yet, but there happens to be a very hidden little thing in the prologue that's worth picking up if you can. That might constitute a little bit as a spoiler, though, so I'll just be quiet and you'll see what I'm talking about later. For now, let me just gather up some of these resources and clear things over here. Now, you might think that I am very eager to get out of the prologue and move as fast as I can. I actually strongly recommend you take your time in the prologue. This is one of the few times in the game where it's actually relatively safe to go ahead and gather up resources and just get things ready, build up a good foundation. And if you're just fulfilling the minimum requirements in the tutorial and launching off, well, you're going to miss out on some really cool opportunities, and you're going to have a slightly harder time once you actually begin Chapter 1 of the game. So don't be afraid to take a little bit of time. Also, despite the fact that I am trying to be at least somewhat space efficient over here in my station, don't feel too bad if you make some mistakes and decide you want to move some stuff around. It is free to dismantle a building. You get all the resources back. You're not going to lose out on anything. So don't worry, you'll probably have to rearrange a few things. It's mostly just some downtime in terms of production. Another event is up and running. Some people are lacking quarters. Don't worry, in the next 12 cycles, I will build some housing for you guys. I'm sure you're going to love it. In fact, we can go ahead and place some of these down right now. So if you go under population in the build menu, these are the crew quarters. And this is where you're going to be able to house people. Now, fun fact, you don't need to house absolutely everyone. In terms of like your actual happiness and the stability of your sector, it is based at least in part on the percentage of your people who are housed or in better housing, whatever it's going to be. Right now, we're losing some stability because we have over 75% homelessness in the sector. But once you get down below 25%, you don't have any penalties. So if like 1 or 2 people are living on the streets, don't feel too bad. It doesn't impact you in any meaningful way. Over here, by the way, we need to go ahead and get some storage going for some polymers because in order to move on to the next section of the game and the tutorial, I need to gather up some of these things over here. So let's do that now. Okay, the cargo ship is constructed. We're now working on a science ship, but over here in the planetary system, we can take a look at our fleet. So this is the first of our cargo ships, and here you can establish priorities on what you want the ship to pick up. In this case, over here at the Urshanabi, I know that there is going to be, it looks like some food, and I actually don't remember what that symbol is exactly called, but it's fine. For now, let's say that food is the top priority. Go pick this stuff up. And what we're going to see is it's going to launch a little cargo ship over here. It's going to pick it up, and it's going to bring it back to the station. Thank you, Urshanabi. We have also now built out a science ship, the Gannet, over here. All right, so with the science ship, you see some of these events over here, and it is now worth sending your science ship to these locations in order to fulfill some events, hopefully get some sort of an awesome reward. So we'll start with something nice and simple. We're going to go to the moon, and we're going to click on the event. So over here we can see that a base is out of commission, run by the UN. Auxiliary systems are operational and could be used to restore power. We've reached the UN base, it is abandoned and depressurized, the surveillance systems are still operational. So we can exploit the security vulnerability, it's going to take 1 cycle to do that, and then we could dismantle the base. Some of these decisions will lead to other decisions, some will just simply close this thing out. Some might lead to pretty cool secret events. I don't know all of them, but I do know at least some of them. So for now, let's start with the easy stuff. We're going to hack into the security vulnerability and see if there's anything fun to get out of that arrangement. First one is done. We'll simply click on this, and oh, what do we get? We get a little bit of science. That's exciting. Science is actually kind of hard to come by in the very early game, but once you do get a couple of different techs, it starts getting a lot faster. You'll see. It's a very common complaint. Some people thinking that you just get basically no science in the game, and the only way to get some is through events. Not true, but you do need to go for a somewhat specific build order. Anyway, over here, we hacked into the main computer as you ordered and retrieved several relevant research papers. Nice. Let's also dismantle the base. And once the science ship has nothing else to do, it's going to transmit the 10 science back to the Tiqqun. Technically, we could just not do this event and get the science right away, but I don't need it this exact second. We're looking fine. Now, on the topic of science, I'm going to do something the tutorial does not recommend. I'm going to build a tech lab right now. Tech Lab, this is where you can actually do things with those science points and even generate more. That's why it's so dang important. So what do we get for finishing things out over here on the moon? We get a little bit of alloys and 90 more research. So if you just sit here for a little bit, we are going to have a lot of science transmitted over to the base. Beautiful. Now, a tech lab does employ a lot of people and drain a lot of power. So be wary of that. You want to be careful not to overdo things. In fact, a very common mistake I see with people playing this game is they're not really taking into account how you can overwork your people to death, and I mean that quite literally. So what I mean over here is if you look down to the bottom left, there's this right here. It says conditions are currently optimal. We need 76 people to work in this sector for all of the current open jobs, and we have 79. That means everyone can work a perfectly normal 8 to 5, and they're feeling just fine about things. If we get to a situation where we have not enough workers to go around for too many jobs, they'll put in extra hours. But the more they do that, the more dangerous their working conditions because they're exhausted and prone to making mistakes. And you can find that you're getting your people killed. And if that happens, you don't have enough workers and it only gets worse and worse and worse. Do not be afraid to turn off buildings if you don't need all of their workers. For example, over on this stockpile, there are 5 people working. I have 2 other stockpiles working alloys. Do I need this? No, we could just turn this off and save some power and make sure we have even more people available to work other jobs. Right now it doesn't matter, but that becomes an absolutely crucial aspect of the game, and one that I think people don't take seriously enough until it's too late. So don't make that mistake. If your people do make some mistakes and get themselves injured, then something you're going to need is an infirmary. I'm going to go ahead and place this. It's under the population tab. This is where you are able to heal people who have gotten themselves injured on the workplace, right? So we need to make sure we have one of these in every sector. It's absolutely crucial. Minor injuries that are obtained during optimal working conditions, usually not fatal, absolutely fine. Anything beyond optimal, all the way up to dangerous, you're likely to start getting some deaths. Now, over here, we're getting an event where people are complaining that they are being overworked, and they want us to deploy some additional crew members or reduce the number of concurrently active workplaces. This is the better solution in the long term that you'll have to use, but for now, we could request some extra people. 20 extra folks does eat extra food, so that's something to be concerned about, but at least right now, we're fine. And if any of them are homeless, I don't know, and I don't care, because it's not hurting my sector stability. Hooray! Let's make sure we go over here to the fleet, though, and say, hey, I do want these alloys, and hey, I do want these people. Please bring them by. All right. Now, one thing I did not do when I first played this game is once I finished with the moon, I'm like, oh, good, the tutorial's done, let's move on. No. This is where I'm saying you should take a little bit of time, because take your science ship and go to a place like Mars. There's stuff to do over here. I completely had overlooked that, and that was stupid. Don't rush through the prologue. Look for things, all right? You trust me, you'll be glad you did. And here's our next character over here. Abhinav Munshi, the head of medicine, all right, wants me to build an EVA airlock using the technology screen. All right, so that means we need to start spending some of our first round of science. In the tech lab, we're gonna click on this tech tree over here, and here's a whole load of cool stuff you can do. Now, we need pretty much all of this. I'm gonna need that EVA airlock. We're gonna need to get a probe launcher. I need to get an insect farm. I also really want to get some upgrades at the tech lab as early as is possible. First, we need to get tech tier 2, so there's nothing we can do in the prologue, but once we get to chapter 1, this is a top priority. Why? Well, because if you take a look at the tech lab, right now we are getting 1 science every 30 cycles. That is painfully slow. But if you get some upgrades for your tech lab, you can get 3 every 5 days, every 5 cycles. That is 18 times more effective, and it gets even better with things like the Intelligent Lab and so on. This is the best way to boost up a lot of your early game science, and it's so very easy to overlook. We don't like that. Now, I could go for the EVA airlock right now, but I actually don't need that this second. What I'm going to work on instead is an insect farm so we can start farming out some crickets and feed our people. Why? Because I just took on 20 more mouths to feed, and we're already burning through some of my food. I might as well start producing more, yeah? We have arrived at Mars. What's going on over here? The UN has established a facility on Mars. Its crew are lacking the materials required to repair a critical fault in their oxygen supply system. They're requesting us to give them aid. Now, the question is, what resources do we want to spend here? We could spend some alloys, or I could do some alloys and some polymers. I'm going to go for alloys because the polymers are a little bit more of a rare resource for me, and I have a different use in mind for those. I will use my cargo ship to transport 20 alloys to Mars. And off it goes. Now we just wait for this thing to arrive. Again, this is one of those situations where if you're rushing through the prologue, you'll miss out on all this. Now let's take a look at the Tiqqun exterior over here, which, by the way, I gotta say, beautiful looking ship. It's pretty cool. But over here, we do need to construct some stuff pretty soon. I'm already starting to run low on power. We can't do that yet because the tutorial says I'm not allowed to. But if you run out of power because you're just kind of growing a little bit too fast, don't worry. Look for at least a couple of these stockpiles that you don't need right now, and you can just turn some of these off instead. Boom, we have a little bit more power to spare. I've also got my insect farm. Excellent. Let's go for the EVA airlock next. Might as well. It's not going to advance the story until we are good and ready for it, so I think that's going to be just fine. But if we do have enough people around, we should consider maybe building up some cricket farms or just insect farms. So right now, even with this thing turned off, let's just actually turn this on for illustration, we have 81 workers required and 99 available. That means that no matter what I build right now, we're still going to be in optimal working conditions. So let's go under food over here and look for some good spots to place down some insect farms. Unfortunately, these things are a little bit large, which is kind of unfortunate and annoying because they don't fit anywhere very neatly right now. I guess for now I'm okay with placing down, let's say, 2 of these over here, but it's not the prettiest work in terms of roads that I've ever seen. Oh well, tis what tis. Remember, you can always dismantle these things later if you need to, and it's not going to cost you resources, only time. Whoop, and there's that first round of blackouts. To be safe, let's turn off the power, and boom. We should be turning things back on now. Try to avoid any of those as much as you can, because it tends to scare people. You don't like living on a space station and find that all of a sudden the power's off. That just doesn't bode well. 2 insect farms online are going to be good. This is going to be producing about 1 food per cycle. That is not much, but if you look up over here, it does tell you that right now we are covering all of our meal requirements. We should be producing, it says, enough food. I'm not sure it's totally true, but it says that we'll be producing enough food, so okay. Anyway, now that we've got that all gone, we have researched the EVA airlock. Let's also research that probe launcher. And now I need to find a good place to put that. So EVA airlock, we could place a big one right over here. Yeah, it's a big structure, all right. That's fine, though. Have we finished over here in Mars, by the way? Oh, yes, we did. Okay, cool. So now we get 20 polymers out of the arrangements. Hooray, thank you. So with that done, now let's go back to our science ship and go to, how about Saturn? There's probably cool stuff in Saturn. Also, make sure you go back to the fleet and turn on things like polymer gathering so this doesn't just sit out here gathering dust. Now be very wary here, because as soon as we finish up this EVA airlock, what's going to happen? We're going to run out of power again. I've already finished up all the research I can do, so I'm going to go ahead and preemptively turn off the tech lab so that when this thing turns on, we don't shut down all of the lights. This is where normally in the tutorial you find out you're out of power and they're like, oh, you should probably build up some more solar panels. So let's go to the Tiqqun exterior view, let's click on the construction, and let's actually build some. Take some of those polymers we've earned, generate another 40 or so power. There are many, many sets of solar panels that we will be able to build out, and we're gonna need pretty much all of them, eventually. For now, though, start small, don't worry about it too much. We've arrived at Saturn. Let's find out what's going on over here. A signature trace from an EKP system has been detected near Saturn. The technology is exclusive property of the DOLOS Corporation, but records indicate the company has not deployed any missions to the sector. Well, that's unusual. Let's do a bit of investigation and find out what's going on over here. Who's using DOLOS proprietary technology? Oh, also we have enough power, we can turn this sucker back on. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is build out a probe launcher. This thing's pretty big, as you can tell, right over here, for example. I'm going to place this, let's say, right over here, I guess. This should be fine. Why do I want a probe launcher? Well, because I want to explore space, of course. Anyway, we finished some stuff down over here around Saturn. Let's take a look. We get some more science. Well, that's cool. And we finished with whatever we were doing down there. I wonder what the secondary option would have been. Oh, well, never gonna know. Let's go ahead and send our ship back to the Tiqqun. All right, so we're done with our probe launcher. Let's go ahead and build a probe. It takes 3 of my polymers. I only really need 1 for right now. Just 1 will be enough. Okay, the probe is done. Let's go back to the solar system map over here. We can send our first probe. Now, this is where you would do some exploration all over the area, looking for resources that you can extract. At the moment, though, that's not really an option, but what's this? Notice over on the right that it's saying there's some point of interest over here. Oh my goodness, what could this be? What could this be? Let's go ahead and launch a probe and find out. Probe is arriving right about now. Oh, unauthorized access to a thing. Goodness gracious. Let's go ahead and send out this science ship and find out what's going on over here. And while we wait for that, the next thing we need to do is actually build up the Vohl engine over here. It takes 100 of our alloys, but this is the way that we are going to be able to traverse self-similar space, whatever that means. Interesting. 100 alloys is a lot, but that's fine. Okay, we've arrived over here. What do we find? By proceeding beyond this point, we are breaching the terms of my contract with Dolos. Goodness gracious me. All right, we are going to create a temporary easement contacting the station Outer Hope. Okay, what does that mean? Let's see. This is Marduk Council Member Rabia Nyokond, you are not authorized to interface with Outer Hope. The purpose of this facility is to allow Dolos to continue with the development of its most highly classified projects, far away from the prying eyes of our competitors and the media conglomerates of Earth. Do you not realize that the whole world is watching you at this moment and that your presence here could jeopardize this entire operation? I will be filing an official complaint with Vanir himself, who, by the way, is our CEO, unless perhaps you can do something for me that will change my mind. We could send them 30 alloys. You know what? I'm intrigued. We'll do it. I will send you 30 alloys aboard the Quicksilver. All right, we've delivered your alloys. Thank you. Now leave. I will ensure that Dolos issues a public statement that rationalizes your contact here at the edge of the solar system. I'll placate Vanir for now, but you'll need to explain your actions in due course. Alrighty, you might have heard we're working on the next iteration of the Tiqqun, the Protagoras. The Tiqqun operation must succeed if we are to achieve our goal of bringing humanity into a new era. Trust in genetic conidus. Self-similar space will reveal the pattern. So out of this, we get some extra polymers, which is nice and relatively hard to come by at the very beginning of the game, but also some electronics. These actually are going to be very useful at some point. Not like absolutely required or anything, just like really cool to have. Let's make sure that we actually gather these things, by the way. It would really suck if we left that behind. So, I've built the engine aboard the Tiqqun station. There it is, in all of its glory. That means that the next stage of our quest is to gather up 100 extra people from the Urshanabi and bring them onto the station. That means we're gonna need a lot more people, we're gonna need a lot more food production, we're probably gonna even need a little bit of extra power. Let's go ahead and go to solar panel part 2 and upgrade this right over here. Perfect. Of course, this does mean we need to get some additional housing up and running, and that's going to take up pretty much all of my remaining alloys, which is a little concerning, but oh well. Incoming transmission. All right, we have finished with the preparation. Now we need to actually launch ourselves into the wild yonder. However, our CEO would like to have a little talk-see. Hi, Vanir. I'm not actually going to listen to you right now, but there he is. He's all excited. He has told us we need to move the Tiqqun station into orbit of the moon. Very well. By clicking on this giant engine over here, we can move the Tiqqun all the way over this direction. It's going to take 0.7 cycles, and it's going to use up pretty much all of our power into the systems for a while. That's fine, though. It just means every time you move the Tiqqun in the future, be aware you're going to have 0 power, and you need to have batteries. Alrighty, off we go. While we're waiting for this thing to arrive, let's go over here to the docking bay. I might as well go ahead and build out a mining ship. I know that's something I'm going to want in the future. We'll swap this thing over here to store some electronics. like so. We can turn this back on temporarily, and boom. So all we're really missing at this point is enough housing to take care of all of our people. Otherwise, I would say that what I've got here is kind of the minimum of what you want before you finish up with the prologue. This is a pretty darn solid start, and yes, it took me all the way up until cycle 54. I'm aware of that, but that's okay. You ready for some fun? Let's go ahead and launch the Vohl engine. Commence jump? Yes, sir.
The Earth, our home, she is unique. Held in its bosom are the ingredients of evolution. Beyond raw survival, beyond the safety of comfort, we, humanity, pursue something greater. We have learnt, persevered, shaped our knowledge from that which is found in the furthest realms of science. However, humanity has brought destruction to the earth, polluted its blood, choked its breath. Today we are paying the price for this. We know the taste of a dying world. But the earth is not to be our grave. A mother does not wish to see her children disappear with her. She wishes to see instead courage in her children, to carry on. Dolos carries this courage. We have gone further than any nation, moved faster than any corporation, hand in hand with those who, like us, carry that courage. The Tiqqun station is both an epilogue of these endeavors and a prologue to humanity's next steps. Our Council of Scientists leads the vanguard. They know, as do we all, that the survival of humanity now depends on what we glimpse out there in the dark. That we are masters of our own destiny. That we must go as a species bound together, pushing further into the unknown. We set sail on this new sea because there is hope to be found, horizons to explore, and because our very existence depends on it. I give you the stars. I give you the Vohl engine.
What? Oh, right, he's done. Excellent. All right, cool. We're about to launch. Oh, this is going to be an exciting moment. Flash. Whoa. Oh. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Okay. Huh. Well. Not too sure what went wrong there. Was our space jump supposed to destroy the moon?
Several anomalies detected.
So I'm guessing that's a no to my question then. Okay. Now that right there is a little bit of a clue of something. The mission clock and the state of the solar system don't match. It seems like we may have stepped outside of time for a while. And that is where our game truly picks up. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, we have completed the prologue. It took 54 cycles. But we are in as good of a position as we literally can be to now begin Chapter 1 of the game. And this is where the challenge truly begins. But this is also where I'm going to leave you for this first video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I would ask that you hit that like button if you are excited for the series or you found this helpful in some way if you are following along. Leave a comment with your own suggestions or theories as to where this story is going to go. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys next time.